Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining Insight into Wellness. My name is Alexandra Greenberg, and I am the owner of Green Tree Ayurveda. Today, I have with me Asrael Zemenick, and we are talking about breath. We are talking about nourishing and expanding and awakening our breath. Asrael is a certified Ayurvedic practitioner, Vedic Spiritual Counselor, and yoga teacher whose passion is to support people as they are awakening into themselves. She works one-on-one with clients worldwide, is the creator and teacher of the Pranic Healing Training Program, and is an adjunct professor for New World Ayurveda Practitioner Program and its Consciousness Mentorship Program. Asrael credits her deep connection to both spirit and nature as an integral piece to her own growth. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, welcome. Namaste, Alex. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today and to share with you all.
Yes.
It's going to be fun.
Great. It's an amazing time to be talking about breath, to be working on something that is so calming and so grounding, and I think overlooked a lot.
It is. And, the breath is something that we don't even think about, right? But yet it's something we do in every moment. To live, we have to breathe. And when we can take our attention and our awareness to our breath, even just, paying attention to it just for a moment, and maybe in a few minutes, we'll even just explore that. It's amazing what it can do to our nervous system. It's amazing what it can do to just bringing us into a deeper awareness of what's going on around us and within us. And it's amazing how settling it can be. As you said, right now, it's a very unprecedented time. And the one thing I think that all of us have in common at this time is that we really have to be with the unknown, and we really have to be with what's happening moment to moment. And we each have our own stories and our own way that we're flowing with that. And so the breath is one way that we can sort of get out of our head with the stories and get out of our head with the unknown, and really bring us back into what is here, what is present, what is true. And that's our bodies, and that's our experience of every moment. So it's very, very powerful practice, and very powerfully with us in every moment.
Yeah, and talking about experiences, I love starting these conversations just by diving into a little bit about you, and just what was your experience, if any, as a child with holistic health and healing, or did that happen as you got older?
So thanks for asking. So it's something that I was always, I would say, interested in as a very young age. I think as a child, I had fairy friends, and I had like flower friends, and I was always interested in something that was maybe more unseen or unhelpable. But I grew up in a very traditional Western household. My dad is a medical doctor. My mom was a teacher, and they're lovely people, lovely beings, but they really were mainstream and not necessarily into anything holistic, anything alternative, in any way, shape, or form. And it wasn't until I started getting into high school, and that was in the late 80s, early 90s, and that's when I did my first yoga class. And so that's when it was like, oh wow, that's when I really got tuned into this idea of breath and body, and started to have something tangible to take what was more unseen, or what was more around me in a bigger way, and bring it into a more palpable part of my life. And then at that point, especially around the age of 15 and 16, I got really curious and started looking into holistic medicine, started looking into Ayurveda. Actually, was when that was first introduced to me, and also into different forms of healing on a more energy and intuitive sense as well. So
it's really been a part of your life for a long time.
Yeah.
And allowed you to just dive into so many nooks and crannies, which is amazing.
Yeah, I feel very blessed. And for those of you who are parents, with your kids now, there's always so many things that our children want to do and to experience. And some of them might seem really sort of far out there or seem like big dreams. and yet anything is possible, right? And so for the kids that are the dreamers, or the kids that are are looking at something that feels so maybe out of their grasp, if they believe, it's interesting to see what might happen. And for those that are looking at a more focused way of life too, those that do want to be the lawyers or the engineers too, I think.
Well, you'll need that breath if you're a lawyer.
Yeah, definitely. We all do. It's amazing actually how much more breathing and mindfulness is really coming into the mainstream, and how needed, and not needed it is, but how much more awareness there is around it all. So
When, now that we're talking about like little, younger kids, when they're expressing, oh, I want to experience XYZ, I want to experience breath, but they might not have the words. How would you facilitate a parent helping their kid experience some yoga or back into breathing or just stepping into that world?
yeah, so there's a couple ways. It depends on the age of the kid, the child, for sure. It's really neat. One of the neat things with this COVID experience is that so many people are putting yoga online. And I know a couple of people in particular that have kids yoga classes, right, for free on Facebook online. And she has them for toddlers, and then she has them for 6, 7, 8 year olds. And so that's one way, is have them take a class for just fun for the yoga, and just to look and see, are any of your local studios doing anything like that. Because it can make it really fun for them and like a game. And with the breathing, it's the same way. One of the breaths I'll be talking about later is called the Brahmari breath, and it's the bee breath. And it's so fun for kids because they get to pretend to be a bee and make these noises and make these sounds. And it's something that they don't have to think about breathing deep, or they don't have to think about what they're supposed to be doing. So it's bringing some fun into it. A lot of times with younger kids too, like if we're trying to do a full belly breath, I'll often bring in the idea of breathing into a balloon, right? Imagine that they're breathing into their belly like it were a balloon, breathing. So instead of like blowing out into the balloon, they're breathing into the balloon of their belly and like trying to round their belly up. And so to really just make it fun.
Yeah.
And then of course, if there's some children who are like, but I want to do this for relaxation, then you can definitely talk about the benefits. But the benefits will come whether they know what's happening or not. So
let's just dive into one of the first breaths. And I think this is a breath that a lot of people know, the Ujjayi breath. If you've taken any yoga class, they've talked about this breath. Let us dive in.
So Ujjayi breath is known as the ocean sounding breath, or sometimes the Darth Vader breath. Again, with kids, we could definitely use that Darth Vader sort of energy for it. And what we're doing in this breath is we're closing off our throat, the epiglottis of the throat a little bit, so that we're letting less air come in at once, and we're creating a soft and soothing sound that just in its natural ability of doing this, it starts to slow down the parasympathetic nervous system, and it allows our body to be soothed like by the waves of the sea. This breath also is a breath that is actually very warming. So it's not like a hot breath. It's not going to make us get super hot or energized, but it's going to say to our nervous system, this is safe. This isn't cold. It isn't frigid. It's giving us space to expand and to feel the warmth and the energy of our natural body flow. It's a gentle breath, and it's a breath that we usually breathe in and out through the nostrils. But as I always recommend to any of my clients, at any time, if you need to breathe out through the mouth, if there needs to be either a release or there needs just to be a very soft, gentle release through the mouth, it's always okay too, as that's very soothing to the nervous system as well. So.
And why is it that through the nose, that like nose connection? What is it about the nose versus the mouth?
Yeah, so with the nose, if we look at the nose on a very energetic body sense, it's really connected to the energy both of the third eye, and it's also connected to the energy of two of the different nadis in our body. We have hundreds of nadis in our body. Nadis are like meridians in acupuncture, only they're a little bit more subtle, and there's more of them than the acupuncture meridians. And there are three main nadis that we work with. There's the Ida nadi, the Pingala nadi, and the Sushumna nadi. And the Ida and Pingala Nadi are connected to sun and moon, or the right and left side of our bodies. And so when we're breathing in through the nostrils, we're already just bringing in the energy right into those two main nadis that wrap around our central channel, which is the Sushumna Nadi, and move through each of the chakras. And so if we look at these as three main meridians or three main energy flows, vayus in our body, when we're breathing in through the nose, we're bringing energy to all of the nadis in our body, all of the cells, as well as bringing extra support to our nervous system into the main chakras and energy centers in our system and in our body. So it's very nourishing and very soothing. Sometimes for people it can be too much, especially when they're first learning to breathe, or it can be hard, right? Like, how do I breathe so deep through my nose? And so again, I would always give that permission to breathe through the mouth, but the nose is going to allow us to deepen into a more relaxed state quicker most of the time.
All right, that sounds beautiful. And I know that I've done that. Like I said, we have a lot of us have experienced a yoga class. You've experienced this type of breathing, and truly grounding. I was doing it just as you were talking, and I'm already feeling relaxed.
It's amazing, isn't it? Just, again, turning the attention. And I think if there was one key thing I'd want people to walk away with today, it's like, even just for a moment, turning your attention to the breath. Let's say we just did that right now. And you don't have to try to even breathe. Like, you don't need to do anything fancy. But what if we all just closed our eyes for a moment and just noticed your breath? And you might notice your breath is shallow or deep. Or you might notice that as you notice your breath, it starts to deepen all by itself. And now, what would happen if we took one just deep, beautiful, and gentle breath right now? As deep as is comfortable, no right or wrong. Exhaling when you're ready. Maybe let's do this 2 more times. And notice if it feels better to exhale through the mouth or the nose. There's no right or wrong in this moment, just noticing what feels natural to you. And after your next breath, let the breath go. And when you feel ready, open your eyes.
Lovely.
And so I would be interested for the people listening to this podcast to notice, like, what happened. Even if they weren't breathing so deeply, did they notice that they relaxed more? Did they notice something shifting in their awareness? And it's really that simple. We just have to stop just for a moment and pay attention.
I think, and that's an important piece. I wrote that down to make sure we talked about the idea that breath is so simple that I think people overlook it. They overlook it as this amazing, huge tool, so important. How could that one small thing, which is actually huge, make a difference?
Yeah, makes the hugest difference. And there's so many powerful techniques, and one of the things I really look at with breath in my practice and in my life is it really causes me and reminds me to expand into much more than my physical body or the physical sense of being. It can open me up more into the true self of awareness, instead of just being attached to my mind or my emotions or my body. And yet at the same time, it's something that can be just done without any technique, without anything but just paying attention. And then, of course, when we add different steps or different types of breath work in, they'll each have their own flavor and have their own sort of pathway. But just simply breathing is one of the biggest gifts that we can give ourselves, paying attention to that breath.
Through my own practice, practice of breathing and conversations that I've had with others and helping people breathe themselves, a lot of breath gets stuck in the chest. And the awareness of pulling it down into the belly, which is the next breath I wanted to talk about, which was the healing breath. And just the idea, if you could also speak to like how to move past the chest into the belly.
Great. And so this is very common. And I will go into schools and I actually teach the healing breath to teenagers in high schools. And one of the first questions I ask is, where do you breathe? Do you breathe into your belly or do you breathe into the chest? And usually at least 75% of these teenagers breathe in just to their chest. And we've learned to take these really, I don't want to say shallow breaths, but it can be very hard sometimes to bring our awareness down into the belly and into the lower parts of our being. And part of that is just habit. Part of it is because we're going all the time and, we don't have time to think. And a lot of us are living up here. We're in our minds, we're in our heads, we're sort of not all the way in our body. And so the first thing, before I want to sort of give a sense of a tip or technique of how to work with that, is I want to talk about the importance of it. The healing breath in particular is this breath where we bring our awareness into our belly and into the lower area of our pelvis and root. And so this would be the areas, both of our first and second chakras. So first chakra is the energy of our grounded stability. It's earth. It's our family. It's feeling safe in the midst of chaos. It's feeling connected. And then the second chakra is right around the belly button. First chakra is in the very lower pelvic area. And then the second chakra is in the belly. And this has to do with our creativity, our flow, our connection with others. And it is the water element. The belly area also, this area just below the belly button, it's also one of the energy centers in Chinese medicine. It's a lower dantian. And so this is a very powerful center that connects both with our jing, our life force, and our qi, which is like the energy and the flow of life. And so when we're just breathing up here, we're not accessing the true ability we have of humans to be in our bodies and to be embodied in our body. When we're breathing into a full and expanded belly and we're connecting with the energy of our root, and then we're really connecting with the fullness of our belly as well, we're giving our body permission to say, here I am, I can be your temple. And we're giving our spirit or our consciousness or our mind and our emotions an opportunity to say, oh, I can rest here. I'm safe here. I'm in my body. I'm connected. And so when I'm teaching people how to breathe into this deeper belly area, the first thing is that we never want to force. It's really simple. But when it's brand new, it can be difficult. It can feel challenging. And so first of all, I'll have people put their hands on their bellies, and that alone can be hard because a lot of us have learned to not have a great relationship with our bellies. And so just touching our belly, getting used to it, noticing if the breath moves down there. And then if it doesn't, taking the invitation to slow down and to take some deeper breaths and starting to imagine, just to imagine or intend that breath to go into the belly. What would it be like to allow that belly to fill up like a balloon, like as if we were teaching a child? Or what would it be like to breathe in and imagine this big ball of glowing golden light in that belly area, lower back area B? And with the imagination, there can often be a permission that is given that it might not be the fifth time or the sixth time that you're breathing, but after practice, the body says, oh, that's okay. I can let go there. And so it's not about pushing ourselves there. It's about giving ourselves permission to softly flow there and go there.
Yeah. And something that is it was life-changing, this breath for me, because in a yoga practice, we're asked to hold the belly in and pull in tight and still have that ujjayi breath. But in this, it's expansion, it's openness, it's acceptance.
It is, and it's that, because on the exhale of this breath, we're keeping that belly full. And again, so it brings that sense of grounded expansion, grounded fullness. In my truth, and again, just speaking from my own experiences, the more we're in our body and the more held we are in our body, the more nourished our nervous system is, and the more that we are actually expanding out. But it's in this space of held connection. And so with a breath like the healing breath, where you're breathing in and exhaling, allowing that fullness to really resonate from this abdominal area, that fullness will resonate into every cell and every space into our body. And we're grounded, and yet we're awake. So it's very, very powerful.
I love that breath.
I do too. It's my go-to, the healing breath, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Do it every day.
I would love to step into the bee breath.
Okay.
For all our kiddos and everyone that wants to get a little bit of action with their hands as well.
Yeah, this breath is really fun. It's called the Brahmari breath, and Brahmari means bee. And basically this breath, first of all, is so grounding. And so the healing breath is one of the more powerful breaths. And I don't know if you put links, but I'm happy to share a little video on the healing breath if people do want to practice it at home, that are interested in it from the podcast. Definitely. But this breath is one where you don't even have to effort. Like, healing breath can feel like a little bit of work when you're first learning it, because again, you're not used to the belly expansion. You're not used to going there. And the bee breath, it's all about just, I don't want to say having fun, but really going with what comes through you in the moment. That you don't have to worry if your belly's full. Fuller belly is going to make it more nourishing, but if it's not full, it's okay. And what this breath does, it's one of the most calming breaths there is. It's very cooling and soothing, and it's very nourishing to the nervous system. So it's good for excess worry. It's good for lots of thoughts. It's good for anxiety and stress, and it's fun. And so I'm going to show two different ways to do it. The first way, we're just going to be plugging our ears. And then the second way, we'll be going with the full hand mudra and putting it all over our face. The reason I want to show just doing our ears is because for the younger kids, it's going to be a lot easier to do it this way. And it doesn't mean the breath is wrong. This way, it's just not going to be as soothing to the whole body with the pressure points on your face not being touched. And so this breath is very simple. All we're going to do is we're going to breathe in through the nose. And as we exhale, we're going to breathe out through the sort of nose and the mouth at the same time. So the mouth is going to stay closed, but the breath is still going to be making a vibration there with the sound like a bee. And so I should do it first, and then I'll walk you through it, Alex. And so we're going to take a deep breath in. And then as we exhale, we plug our ears. And breathing in. And then just release your hands and just take a moment. And you can almost feel the vibration of that sound washing over you. The other thing that you might notice with this breath is that the exhale can be very long and very drawn out with very little effort. And when the exhale is longer than the inhale, the nervous system naturally settles even more. And so what I'd like to do is just show you the other hand position. Lovely. And this hand position is we're going to take our thumbs and we're going to put our thumbs into our ears. I'm not going to plug mine all the way yet, but I want you to plug them all the way. Then we place our index fingers over our eyes, right to the center of the eyes, or not center, the inside of the eyes. our middle fingers right to the outside edges of the nose, and then our ring finger and pinky finger to top and bottom of the mouth. And what we're doing is we're closing off all our senses here. And so let's do this breath 3 times, just like this. We're going to breathe in, exhaling same way. 2 more times. Go at your own pace. And then when you're done, just release your hands and keep your eyes closed and let yourself rest for the count of like 5 or 10. Noticing the vibration of the sound that still moves through you. And notice how relaxed and grounded you are. And opening your eyes only when you feel ready.
I might fall asleep.
Yeah, me too.
When you are putting the hands in the mudras, for everyone watching, are you closing off the nostrils?
Yeah, you'll close the nostrils a little bit as you exhale, but you're not pinching them shut. There's just a soft pressure. Same with the eyes. There's just a soft pressure. There's nothing that's really hard about it. There's just a very soft pressure. And then as you inhale, you're going to release a little bit so you get the full inhale. And so it's very subtle and it's what's comfortable. It's all about being comfortable.
And you just touched on it, but yeah, so our fingers are hitting all of our senses.
Yes, and we're closing everything off, which is allowing us to go even deeper into that space of relaxation, right? And we're not thinking, our mind sort of starts to shut off even more that way. The sound is so soothing and so calming. And I would even say to parents with kids, like if you have 2 or 3 kids and you did this all at the same time, like it'd be amazing to have 3 or 4 people. When I do this in a yoga class, it's like because the hums all go at their own pace and you're just being massaged by this beautiful sound and this beautiful breath. It's one of my favorites. The only contraindication for this breath would be in the winter if it's very, very cold out. It is a cooling breath. So it's something that in the winter I would go with more of the Ujjayi breath or healing breath or even alternate nostril breathing instead of this because it can be so cooling. But in spring, fall, summer, it's great.
What makes that breath so cooling?
It's just the energy of I'm not that I don't know. It's the slowness of the way we breathe in and then just the exhale as we bring out. It's very settling to the nervous system. And that's basically it. We're not usually doing an Ujjayi breath there. We're not creating heat. We're going into a place where we're really releasing and letting go. So.
And as we are doing this, energy is moving, things are flowing. And I know that sometimes I've done a breath and I actually feel a little nauseous or a little woozy. Can you just give us a sense of what happens to energy when we move it and how to just support ourselves when that's happening?
I think that's great. I think it's a wonderful thing to bring up. So it's very normal, especially if we're not used to breathing or if we've been holding a lot in, which a lot of us will hold things in, especially parents or people who are taking care of other people a lot because we've got to take care of others, right? Instead of necessarily deal with what's going on for ourselves. Or as even if we're regular breath practitioners, we have many layers of things that we've been holding on to through lifetimes. And so there's times when energy can move. And this can happen. Nausea is a very common one. Again, for something like a nausea or headaches, we would get that more from something like the healing breath or doing yoga practice. But something like the bee breath, it would be more just really soothing and relaxing. But when we start to breathe deeply into the belly, into those areas, some of the side effects is that energy can move. And so headaches, nausea, feeling very tired. Sometimes if we're doing a faster breath, we can feel really energized and really like too much energy flowing, right? And so the first thing we want to do is just allow. The second thing is if we're starting to feel uncomfortable when we're doing any breathing, we just stop. We don't have to push ourselves past that point of discomfort. Now, for some of us that are more aware of our discomfort, we might say, no, I can ride this wave. This is good. But if it's brand new, give yourself permission to stop. And then you want to make sure afterwards, first of all, that you know it's okay if you have some side effects. Emotional flow is a side effect as well. So tears, anger, sometimes frustration, joy. But it's important to get lots of rest. So taking time to honor yourself, taking a nap if you're tired, not just pushing through things, having nourishing meals, and doing things that really, really soothe you. The other thing I would say, if it's physical, to really tend to your physical body. If it's more emotional, try not to push it away. Give it permission to be felt and to move, and to know that it will move. It's something that's very temporary, and it's something that's just wanting to make its way out of your body.
Thank you so much for guiding us through these different breaths and allowing us to awaken and be here energized. Even though those breaths definitely calm, I have a sense of calm energy. It's not like, oh, I got to do this and then I'm going to do that and then I have to serve these and go here and do that. I have that energy, but it's definitely more grounded and more coherent. So thank you so much, Asrael.
It's my pleasure. It's been such an honor to guide and to share with you today. It's so exciting to share with people and to connect with people. I just love to do it at this time. And I really do want to honor that. Like, it's so grounding, even with the breaths we went into today, and yet so opening, right? So enlivening. And the breath is our biggest gift, and it's there in every moment. So even if it's just stopping for a moment and pausing and paying attention, that's beautiful, right? And so thank you so much for listening, everybody, and thank you so much for having me on your show, Alex.
Yeah, and I will make sure to connect you all to Asrael, and you can re-listen to this and more at greentreeayurveda.com, where you can also leave your questions and comments. Again, I am Alexandra, and this is Insight into Wellness. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.